So for all the negativity that we have spread out there in regards to the New York Rangers, there is a very, very positive story that I think we should be talking about as well. And don't worry, we're not going to go out there and talk about the captain of the New York Rangers, JT Miller. We're not discussing the inevitable trade of JT Miller's childhood friend Vincent Trocheck. Instead, we are diving into the future of the New York Rangers, and whom it is leading the charge at the very top. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, even though JT Miller has a long-term contract with the Rangers, we're not talking about him in this video, man. Today, we are heading over to the 2020 NHL Entry Draft and discussing, arguably, the biggest disappointment at the top of the selection of guys. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about Alexis Lafreniere, and how, for the first time, throughout his entire career really, we are finally starting to see him live up to that first overall potential. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Lego, the 2020 draft was 6 years ago. Isn't that a little bit too late for a guy to be fulfilling his draft potential? What happened in the other 5 years that this guy was an NHL athlete? And that's a fair question. It's a fair point to bring up because, quite frankly, Alexis Lafreniere was making a case to being one of the bigger, I'm not going to say busts, I don't think I want to use that word, but a bigger example of one of these top drafted prospects that did not align with the expectations. They became something that was different than what we thought they would be, either in a positive or a negative sense, although usually it's negative, let's just face it. You don't ever see a guy drafted in the top 5 or the top 10 and think, oh, he is not going to be good. But when it comes to Alexis Lafreniere, he was the next guy in a string of first overall picks that didn't really do all too well to kick off his NHL career. We've mentioned this a few times throughout the course of the past few years, but first overall picks in the 2010s generally had really great 18-year-old years. From Nathan MacKinnon to Aaron Ekblad to McDavid and Matthews alike, not to mention the second overall guys like Jack Eichel and Patrick Laine. For a good few years, there was this expectation that top prospects stepping into the NHL right away would be awesome. But it wasn't really until Jack Hughes in 2019 where we started to see a first overall pick struggling in his first NHL season. Jack Hughes put up the worst first overall pick rookie season set of numbers in terms of points, points per game, and points per 60 going back 20 years into the late 90s. And Alexis Lafreniere was even worse. Lafreniere had 112 points in 52 Rimouski Oceanic games in 2019-20, and then he followed that up with 21 points in 56 NHL games. Sure, you can say that, oh, it was his 18-year-old year, it was the North Division season, and the 2020 year in itself was so difficult for prospects because COVID shut everything down, the draft was delayed by 5 months, and there was just a stoppage of training, development time, scouting, and everything in between. It was a very difficult time for prospects to be drafted and for 18-year-olds to start playing NHL games. Fair. But the problem with Lafreniere was that over the next few years, he would have some breakout seasons, quote-unquote. His 23-24 with Filip Chytil and Capo Kakko was actually pretty good. He had 14 points in 16 playoff games and 57 points in the regular season. Last year, he ended up scoring 45 points in 82 games, which is not great, considering what he had done the year prior. This season, however, Alexis Lafreniere is at 56 points in 81 games. And you can say, Lego, that's exactly what he did 2 years ago. Why is it a big deal now? The reason it's a big deal is because there seems to have been a very distinct turning point as to when Alexis Lafreniere started to become effective and when he started to showcase the talent that he has. Here's a tweet posted by NHL Watcher 2 weeks ago. Alexis Lafreniere, at the time, had 10 goals and 19 points in 16 games since Artemi Panarin was traded. The top reply here says, "Who would have thought putting your first overall draft pick on the first power play would be a good thing?" Furthermore, if you take a look at how things have shaped up in its entirety since the Artemi Panarin trade was executed on February 4th, 2026, Alexis Lafreniere in that span has 12 goals and 12 assists with a plus-minus of 6 in 25 games since then. The dude is literally scoring at just under a point per game pace right after Artemi Panarin got the can. And it's true, there were some moments throughout the course of the past 2 months where Alexis Lafreniere was scoring a lot more points than others. There are still some pointless games here and there. But the guy has genuinely gone out there and reformed his career post-Artemi Panarin trade. He is playing like the best forward in New York. And here's the thing about Alexis Lafreniere being a potential point-per-game guy. We know the NHL is going to increase its game limits for next season, and we know that a point-per-game year might see 84 or 85 points, roughly being the equivalent of what an 82-point season is today. But here's the thing about that, if Alexis Lafreniere is able to score 80-something points a season from here on out, with no more Artemi Panarin, on a Rangers team that is one of the worst in the league, with leadership that's all over the place, and with just totally disappointing results up front, would that not be a first overall caliber player? I mean, maybe he's not the best one, and there are certainly other players who are not first overall picks that can get 80, 90, 100 plus points. There are a bunch of them around the league. But wouldn't being a consistent 80-point guy put Alexis Lafreniere into that, I guess he was all right as a first overall pick territory, rather than the, man, he is not great territory that he has been in the past few years? I feel like ever since 2021, 2022, everybody's been talking about, oh, Tim Stützle and Lucas Raymond, and these guys are going out there, they're outscoring Lafreniere, they're looking like better first overall pick options than what Lafreniere was in 2020, which I do think is kind of unfair, because there was never a world where Alexis Lafreniere was not going first overall in the 2020 NHL Draft. He was just too good in the QMJHL for anybody to consider otherwise. He was touted as the best QMJHL prospect since Sidney Crosby. Like, there's a reason he went first. He slowed the game down, he played with a really great playmaking edge, he could make passes to nowhere, and then it would land itself on the stick of somebody else, and then they'd have an easy tap-in goal backdoor. He was a wizard with the puck. He needed to improve his foot speed. He needed to improve that decision speed in the NHL. And I'm not necessarily saying that that wasn't developed until the Artemi Panarin trade went down, but the Panarin trade opened up more avenues for him to be able to show that progress on the top power play, and in a position where, let's face it, nobody really has expectations for the Rangers anymore. So for Lafreniere, if he's going out there as an 80-point guy every season now, then all of a sudden he goes from a bad first overall pick to one that might have just been okay. I mean, think about it. Lafreniere, if he scores 80-plus points a year, Lucas Raymond's career high is 80 points. This season he's on pace for less than that. Tim Stützle hit 90 points once, but he's only hit 80 points one other time, and that was this season. So Lafreniere, all of a sudden, is in that same point production territory. Now, there's a small sample size, I get it, it's only 25 games, but at the end of the day, if this guy can continue to put on a show in the way he has, I think it's really going to do good for Lafreniere and his overall story when reflecting on players of the 2020 draft years down the line. With that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Alexis Lafreniere and the development he has gone through. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.